Okay, so last week, Tadiwa Wazara, that's the young lady, my daughter, that was interviewing, started telling us about the story of the challenge with her health, where she woke up one day and she couldn't get up, she couldn't walk. And she started telling us about the challenges, and she had to even go into a wheelchair, go to a physiotherapist. So let's find out what her testimony is and what God did.
Having to experience that journey and having to connect with people and talk to people in a different way and have different measurements of myself, because walking down to the shops is now a mental thing, to go up and down steps and
Such
all
an
these
effort.
things.
Yeah,
exactly. And you know, having so much more compassion and also peace. I think that was something that really helped me and something that really healed me, to the point where after, you know, I was able to walk again, and you know, me and my physio were like celebrating. I could stand up and step upstairs and all of these things like that. You know, that kind of victory was an amazing feeling, because I knew the person that I was at the beginning of that journey and the person that I was at the end of the journey were completely different. And not because one of them couldn't walk and the other one could, but because my heart had been put through a tremendous test that I never anticipated would come through. And my perception of myself completely changed, where I stopped thinking, oh yeah, I can do anything I want. It's like, no, what is God telling me to do now? And following and responding to the Spirit, and following and responding to the Word, and being able to actually walk a journey. That journey being learning to walk again.
Yes, literally.
Journey, every single step of the journey being guided by Christ, and being guided by the opportunities to actually explore who I was and the things that meant something to me, and the relationships that I kept around me. And honestly, that was probably one of the most amazing experiences that at the time I couldn't see it as a blessing, but in retrospect, I constantly see it as, you know, we need to be thankful for our health, especially considering the pandemic. We need to be considerate of our health. We need to be thankful for the life that we have. We need to embrace our bodies. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, even as women, there's so many things about body positivity that, you know, you always have to battle with. But for me, I remember being young and having all these insecurities. And now if someone's like, what don't you like about yourself? If you could change something about yourself, I'm like, I have no response to that question, because my body is working. I can sit down and stand up, and I can go down the steps and walk my dog and all of these different things that, you know, before I wouldn't have the same kind of appreciation for. So yeah, that's my testimony, just around my health and the journey that I walked from, you know, being randomly paralyzed to being able to walk again.
Yeah, you know, it's really powerful. It's amazing, because it sounds like, you know, for a moment in your life, God wanted you almost to be still, you know, to be still and know that He's God, and then to learn to walk again physically, but then also to learn to walk with Him, you know, in a different way, in a deep, you know, to a deeper level. And I find this is amazing. And you're not the same person you are now, you know, as you were before you had that, I don't know what you call it, maybe like temporary paralysis, was it? Or something like that.
Yeah.
It seems like God
definitely.
He did something in you. And how long was this for, Tadiwa? I mean, after how long were you able to start actually walking again physically? Like to
6
get up
months.
and leave the crutches and leave the wheelchair?
Yeah, 6 months.
6 months, that's half a year. So Tadiwa, it must have been quite challenging or difficult, you know, for you to be sort of like grounded for 6 months and in London. How was that?
No, definitely. It was something that I couldn't have planned for myself. You know, your whole life, you think as a young person, there are things that you're going to be able to go out and do. There are places that you're going to be able to see. And it just felt like, you know, a lot of things were just pushing me down, holding me back. But, you know, in that moment, that's when I really knew that I needed to lean on God. And I think that it was because of that support that I had from God that gave me the kind of guidance, the kind of strength, the kind of peace that I needed to, get through that time. I mean, you know, we always have an image of how we envision our lives for ourselves, but then there's also the reality of what God has planned for us.
Yes.
And I think it was definitely a moment where all of those things and that perception of my faith was really tested, but the test came at a lot of peace and a lot of ease.
Okay. That's wonderful. That's really, that's very impactful. I think a lot of people are going to be encouraged by this. And now tell me, did you have any sort of support from anybody? Because literally, physically, you couldn't move around. Tell us a bit about that.
So that was another thing that was really hard. I couldn't really actually get support from a lot of people. My family were in a different country. My younger sister, thankfully, was traveling from another city whenever she could to come and see me. I think she was coming and seeing me like monthly just to check how I was doing. And, you know, it really strengthened our relationship in a way that I didn't really have, because I was much older. She was much younger when I left home. We hadn't had that time to really connect with each other. So, you know, it was really powerful to be able to bond with her. Also, I had started dating my current boyfriend, and, you know, it was something that he really supported me with, you know, with actually being able to get to places and encouraging me not to lose faith and not to kind of be bogged down by the things that I couldn't do. And he really supported me, you know, even like going to the movies, all of these kinds of things, with being able to just endure beyond that. I think, yeah, a lot of the relationships that I had were tested because I'm a very supportive friend in a lot of my relationships, and a lot of friends didn't understand that, oh, I needed support now, and they weren't prepared to give it to me. So then they just went off to other people and were kind of like, you're not giving me what I want as a friend. So, I mean, in that sense, a lot of the relationships that I had were put under pressure by the change in my physical circumstances. But eventually, you know, all of the really strong relationships that I had really shone through and were really established, which was so powerful and so inspiring.
Oh wow, that's actually very, so, you know, this is such a all-encompassing testimony, because it also just shows us the importance of relationships and how we ourselves just need to be there, you know, for other people, not just in good times, but also, you know, during bad times. So Tadiwa, just, you know, as we part, just what can you say, you know, to those people maybe going through a similar situation? Maybe they've had an accident or an injury, or even a chronic illness, or something that seems to be going on and on and on, a physical challenge. You know, what can they do? What would you say to them?
So my biggest piece of advice that I would say is just to trust God for peace and lean on God, and He'll give you the peace that you need, because you don't really think that your physical situation can impact the rest of your life in the way that it does. And, you know, as long as you're leaning on God for that peace, it allows you to then be able to deal and operate in grace, operate in humility, and also in kindness to yourself. You know, and I think the second thing that I would recommend is just looking for the blessing in the situation. I know it's so hard. I mean, if someone came to me at the beginning of, you know, me being like, I'm going to be okay, and 3 months into that whole situation, not seeing an end to it, I would have been like, get out of my face. There's no blessing. My physical situation's changed. Like, am I never going to be able to walk again? But I think being able to see the blessing allowed me to have a lot of peace and gratitude, and learn to, you know, grow my patience, learn to grow my humility, learn to grow my empathy. All of these things came out of the fact that I chose to look at the situation differently. I mean, even looking outside of, you know, faith and Christianity, gratitude is such a key element in that we introduce into our day-to-day life that allows us to maneuver life and experience life in a way completely different from, you know, then the circumstances don't change, but the way that you approach them definitely does. And being grateful and seeing things as a blessing definitely is something that I recommend, and something that helped me get through the situation.
Oh wow, you know, for a moment there, I want to say, preach it, sister. It's so powerful. That's really powerful. Wow, I've really been ministered to, and I'm sure a lot of people have been touched, you know, because it just talks about how God wasn't just concerned about you getting up and walking physically, but also about, you know, the inner man, strengthening your inner man. So that is so, so important. And I like that you look for the blessing in a situation. It's your attitude. You know, it's not what's happening to you, but it's how your attitude towards whatever is happening to you or around you. Tadiwa, thank you so much. You know, I know it's a Saturday afternoon and you could be doing other things. You know, you're young, you're in London, you're up and about now, but I really appreciate you taking the time. And I know that a lot of people are going to be encouraged and they're going to have hope because of this testimony. Thank you and bye for now.
No, thank you so much for this opportunity, Auntie. And so much love to you. Bye.
Bye, darling. So, wow. I was really, you know, impacted by the interview. It was so rich. She shared a lot of detail, and I really felt that it was, you know, it had testimonies within the testimony, so to speak, because, okay, the issue wasn't so much that she couldn't walk, and so that's a health issue, and, you know, it was great that God, you know, helped her to get back on her feet, because, you know, she talked about how she was paralyzed and then she had to get back on her feet with the physiotherapist's help. The doctors, even it sounded like right till the end, they just didn't know what was wrong with her. She doesn't know if it was connected to a prior injury she had when she was playing soccer. But I really, you know, loved the aspect about how God walked with her, sort of held her hand and walked with her. And she grew spiritually as a Christian. She became stronger and learned to appreciate, you know, the small, big things like walking, and I'm sure a lot of other things. She got a new perspective of life and how we should appreciate everything, including our own health. And a lot of things came out of her testimony about how, you know, we need to be there. People were there for her. Some people were there for her during her, you know, during her challenge and her test. And, you know, others maybe not as much. And maybe they didn't know how to help. But, you know, nevertheless, we also need to make sure we're there for other people and to be sensitive to other people. And she talked about how she had peace. Even though that was happening, she still had peace, you know. So I thought that was really, you know, amazing. And she was consoled, as it were, in her spirit, that although she couldn't walk physically, and she even said that even if I don't walk one day, and that shows, you know, a closeness to God, that you don't care about that anymore. What you care more about is your relationship with God. But God was gracious and helped her to walk again. So yeah, that is an amazing testimony. Really, really amazing. I will see you next time on Come Testify when I have a different guest. Bye for today. Be blessed.